Hey everybody, Red Mage here. Welcome back to this series where I go through different RPG products that I have and give them a quick flip through and review. This is actually my second take on this video. I recorded the whole thing and then I realized that my microphone was muted, so that was great. But anyway, in this one I'm going to be going through 6 different adventures. It's another one of these grab bag videos. So I'm going to be going through 6. Most of them are pay what you want. A couple of them are cost some money. But they're all really, really great. I think all 6 of these are fantastic adventures. They're for different systems, and they're all pretty short. I'm going to go through them just relatively quickly. And each of them has something that really, really stood out to me, and something that I thought, wow, this is a really cool adventure. So anyway, we'll start with The Awful Amber Doom. This is by Reverse Etten Games. This one was released for the Weird Tales Game Jam for Shadowdark. It was put together a few months ago by Baron DeRop of Dungeon Masterpiece. This is a really, really cool adventure. Just the layout is really clear. The adventure itself, I really like the use, well, you'll see, I really like the way that the map is done, and then the individual locations are really cool. The whole thing is just great, honestly. I really, really like The Awful Amber Doom. The idea is there's this underwater city, this sort of like Atlantis, that sunk ages ago, and now it's back at the surface for just a limited time, right? It came up and it's going to go down pretty soon. And there are some NPCs that are doing some stuff here. Some guys are decent or half decent. Some guys are pretty bad. You've got the Corpse Master. You've got the Oracle of the Moon, Petior, the Explorer, and the Child of Raiden. And then you have a new spell and some new items. The kind of real artifacts of this place are the Cranberry Goblet and the Amber Amulet. Pretty cool. Anyway, the idea is that you're, again, just trying to explore this sunken island and trying to get the treasure out of it before it resinks into the earth. This is what I really like about it. The map, quote unquote, of the island is just this. It's a really cool image with some little descriptions of the different locations, the areas, the Driftwood Orchard, the Outer Precincts, and the Polis. And then there's this moonlight effect that's going on, and then a quick timer. And because this is Shadowdark, the timer plays a pretty key role. So you have 12 hours. Now you could probably play that in game if you wanted to play it in a couple sessions, maybe 3 sessions of 4 hours or something like that. But really, you could just tie, that 12 hours. You don't have to make it an actual live timer if you don't want. But this is the other part that I really liked about it, is the way that each of these areas is laid out. You have these columns, right? So the Driftwood Orchards, the Outer Precincts, and then the Polis, and each of them have what's going on there, the encounters there, and the locations that are in there. And you can see that not all of them are detailed like a ton. Some of it's going to be sort of up to you. So for example, in the Outer Precincts, there are small houses and large houses, the Shrine of Raiden and the Bathhouse. And of course the Bathhouse, the sunken ship, and the Shrine of Raiden are bigger, but the large houses and the small houses, there's a bunch of them. And so you might have some random encounters there, you might have some treasure to find there, and so you're going to have to kind of come up with that as you go. Maybe the house, if the players end up fighting something there, maybe you'll have to kind of, come up with stuff on the fly to fill that house out. But I think that's great. I love adventures like that, where it gives you just a kind of an overview, and then it's up to you to kind of, freeform describe it as you go. I really like that. And the same thing with the Polis itself. There is a dungeon there, but it's very, very small, just a few rooms, and the map of it's very, very simple. So this is a very, very easy adventure to run, and that's the whole thing. On the back page, you get the Explorer class, which is a pretty weak Shadowdark class. Like, it seems a little bit weaker than average, which is saying something, because the Shadowdark classes aren't super strong. But it's cool, super flavorful. It'd be fun to play for a one-shot. So I think you guys should check this one out, The Awful Amber Doom. Just pay what you want. I'll put a link to where you can get it on itch.io. Really cool. Highly recommend you guys check this one out. The next adventure is Too Greedily and Too Deep, a silly and non-copyright infringing gauntlet by Conrad Ludovisi. This is also for Shadowdark. This is on Drive-Thru-RPG. It's pay what you want. This is a great little gauntlet. I like gauntlets quite a lot. This is it. This is the whole dungeon. It's just a mine, and the idea is, oops, all dwarves. The whole party is made up of dwarves, except you have a chance of having an elf or 2. Every player is supposed to make 4 characters, and they're mostly going to be dwarves. And then the idea is you're in a dungeon, a mine, and the Mine of Lesia, which bears no resemblance to any copyrighted or especially litigious locations elsewhere. This is not the Mines of Moria. Whatever you might think, it's not. But anyway, you're a bunch of dwarves There is a goblin incursion. There's some filthy elves down here, stinking, perfidious elves, some imps, and there's a Baelor awakening. So, you know, gotta watch out for that. But it's a really kind of tongue-in-cheek, silly adventure. Not going to be to everyone's taste, but I think it's quite funny. Magic items like the Smasherizer, right? Really great for the gauntlet vibe. I got a comment on another video where someone was saying they just really don't like gauntlets. I guess I understand that. I really like gauntlets. I've had a ton of fun with level 0 adventures, funnels, gauntlets, whatever you call them. Over the years, I've just had a ton of fun with them. So I highly enjoy these. So anyway, hope this one's interesting to you guys. It's very simple, as you can see. There's nothing super crazy in terms of art or presentation. It's just a great little funny adventure. The stuff that's written there is great. It's easy. Again, pay what you want. So if you want to run a funny dwarven themed adventure in a mine, you know, have a game day coming up and you don't want to run your regular campaign, or you want to try running Shadowdark in a one-shot gauntlet, throw this one out there. Your players will probably have a great time. So anyway, here's a great map of it too. It's very straightforward, and there's enough variation in locations and stuff, and the locations themselves are pretty cool. And I just like the concept. Too Greedily and Too Deep. Very short adventure, just 11 pages. Fantastic. I really like this one. On the other end of the scale, in terms of like seriousness, is The Diet of Worms by Bo Ryan Crumb. This one was made for the Knave game jam just a few months ago. And it's a great adventure, but it's pretty gruesome and it's pretty dark, but I really, really like it. And I really like the timer mechanic in this one. So this whole thing is based on a countdown. The idea here ultimately is that there's this worm plague that's breaking out in this town, and it's about to just ruin everything. It's heralding the Worm King's return as this plague gets bigger and bigger. And you just have a few hours to stop it. But the way that works is you have this D4 and you count down, and each one of them's an hour, and when the party rests to avoid fatigue or on the hour, you advance the countdown die down 1 pip. And so you start at 4, then it goes to 3, then it goes to 2, then it goes to 1, and then it's game over. And that's cool in and of itself, but the way that every location is laid out and every NPC is laid out is that they have a little, well, you'll see, timer next to them. Not all of them have all 4 pips indicated, but it might be like on 4, 2, and 1, something is happening there. So you'll see. Here's the overview of the adventure. A foul plague is rampant, the folk huddle in their homes, the grave diggers patrol the streets, the Royal Explorers Club has been twisted into wormfolk, and the wormrot is an alien parasite with a complicated life cycle. And so you as the players are trying to figure it out, what's going on here. There's some omens and some overview locations in Sinkhole Town. And then you get some of the NPCs, and this is what I mean. See, so Mary Ann the Oracle, there's a description of her and what she's doing there. But then at 4, she's stalking the streets. At 3, she's upstairs in the clubhouse, and at 2, she silently attends the feast. Or Eldon the innkeep, at 4, he's stoically manning the counter at 10 fingers, but at 2, he accepts his invitation to the feast, which is the sort of gross last thing that's going on in town. And you'll see that the locations are like that too. If the players come here when it's the first hour at 4, well, then gravers are working to strip and search down dead brought down from the streets above. If they're here in that second hour, in hour 3, then explorers are collecting worms for the feast for the bodies of the dead. If they're here at the last hour, pip 1, then the club brings their guests to the bridge over A number 3. So something is happening here depending on when the players are coming here. If they come here at the third hour, at hour 2, right, with the pips being 2, then nothing particularly is happening here. So the idea here is that you're not saying the players have to go to any location at any particular time. It's just this is what's going to be happening there in the background, and it's a very clear way of indicating it. I think other people should use this method. You don't have to use a D4, you could use a D6, a D8, a D10, a D20, whatever, depending on the timeline. You could make it pretty complicated. But just having a very simple, hey, at 4, at the pip at 4, you know this is happening. At 3, this is happening. At 1, this is happening. And because the pip is right out there, you're just going to put a D4 out and count it down as you play the game. It's super clear when things are occurring. I like that. Here's the dungeon itself, what's going on there, the shifts. If you know in the Knave adventure, you'll see, kind of know what's going on here. Here's Mord, the Graver boss, and again, he changes as the time goes on. He's hacking up a body for ghoul food in the first hour, but by the end, he's quitting the town. And again, particular rooms in the dungeon have things happening at particular hours. So the Graver's cache In the second hour, the second pip has D4 Gravers retrieving a cache of valuables hidden under a loose floor tile. For the surgery, it has something going on here, but if it's that 4 pips, then Mort is also doing something there. Such a great idea, right? Such a great idea. Here's the Explorer's Clubhouse. Very simple map with a cool description there. What's going on upstairs and the NPCs who are going to be there and where they are during the time. Same thing with the Mausoleum. The bestiary at the end and a For the Referee section at the very, very end. This is a great adventure, and it's gruesome, so don't get me wrong. The tone of it's pretty gross, with the worms and people eating worms and bodies rotting into these wormy things, and it's just pretty gross. Hence the title, The Diet of Worms, of course, a play on the, yeah, what is it, 16th century? Yeah, 16th century, it's gotta be. Yeah. But the, yeah, Diet of Worms. Fantastic adventure. Just that one particular element of it, the way that the die indicates the timing, is so good. Highly recommend you guys check this one out. Again, this is, I think, this is Pay What You Want on on itch.io. Again, I'll put a link where you can get that. The next one is A Walk in the Hardwood, or the Harwood, excuse me. This is by Highlander. It's a spooky, old-school hex crawl. Highlander, I reviewed something that Highlander did a while back, Shadow and Fae, 2nd edition. It was in one of the videos where I was talking about good inspirations, books that have a lot of great inspiration, and it really does. This is a great adventure. It has a very fairy tale, whimsical, a little creepy tone. One of the inspirations here is Over the Garden Wall, which is a favorite of mine, and you can definitely tell, and so it's right up my alley. Credits, art and writing by Highlander. Yeah, inspired by Over the Garden Wall, The Black Worm of Brandonsford, and Where the Dark Stands Still. I don't actually know that last one. Now this is version 0.01 alpha. You can get it for Pay What You Want over on DriveThruRPG. It's made for Shadow and Fae 2nd edition, but it's totally compatible, as it says here, with Old School Essentials or any other OSR game. And the idea is there's a forest that serves as a prison for a dark entity, and there's a warden who's been keeping that entity in place, but over time the warden's weakening, and now the entity is reaching out and drawing people to try to rescue it by lying to them and appearing to them in dreams and things like that as a helpless maiden and things like that. And so the mayor's son has gone off to rescue this poor weeping woman trapped in the forest. And you, the party, you know, kind of are let loose in this hex crawl. Now, it's not like there's a particular quest. There's some rumors. You might go and try to save the guy from the mayor. You might go and try to help Sister Verity. You might be going into the woods to get a mansion, the deed to a mansion. Or you might just be following your own rumors and there's sort of what's going on with Constance, who is the person who went out to rescue the lady. Here's the village. You can see the art is kind of charming. It's definitely like something that, you know, it looks like something that you put together at home, right? It's not super professional. It's not the vibe it's going for. It's great. I love this sort of adventure where it looks like someone just gave you their home notes. You know, I love that. Super cool. Here's Almsville, and there's a great feast that's going to happen there, the Spirits Feast, with some events that are happening each day, and they're really cool ideas. And then you get the last note, right? This year the demon would love nothing more than to ruin this day of feasting with visions of death and chaos. Here's the map of the Harwood, excuse me. It's a great little hex crawl. There's a lot of locations here. One of them is a dungeon that is detailed a bit in this book. Most of them are just adventure locations with stuff going on there. It's a little hard to read at first, but that's okay. Once you kind of give it a once over, you can definitely see what's going on here and where things are. I really, really like it. I think this is a great little area. These are each 6 miles, so it's a pretty big forest. Yeah, 6 mile hex. Here's the rules for traveling through the forest, the encounters you might find, and then the locations, the haunts in the forest. The Drowned Lady, the Strangle Pumpkins, the Blood Drop Goblins, the Highwaymen, the Falls, the Morning Mansion, which is the bigger dungeon here, the Warden's Isle, Watch Hill, Song Stones, Greenworm's Lair, the Mill, Sisters Inn. You can definitely see the Black Worm of Brandonsford influence. Very fairy tale, very whimsical, again, pretty funny stuff. The Fish-Faced Village, the Knight's Cloister, the Ogre's Shrine. And then a page for notes, the Morning Mansion map, and details of the different rooms in that dungeon. At the very end, there's a bestiary, and that's it. That's the whole book, 20 pages. A Walk in the Harwood. Really great. I love these sorts of things. If you're interested in putting a little hex crawl into your world, if you need a bunch of hexes to add into your own game, or if you just want to take inspiration from this, I think you guys should check this one out. Again, it's pay what you want on DTRPG, so you can't go wrong. And Highlander has great stuff. All right, the next two, the last two, are not pay what you want or free. These things are both paid products, but they're really, really good. The first is Whiskers in the Wind, which is a Mausritter setting. I love Mausritter. I absolutely love it, and this is just oozing charm. So many of the Mausritter products really are, right? I mean, Mausritter is great. This is by 10 Acre Games, and I bought this one, and I'm very happy that I did. Whiskers in the Wind, it's so pretty. I don't know if 10 Acre Games does a lot, or if they're brand new or whatever, but they're great. I really, really like their stuff. The PDF is 24 pages, but it's in the spread form, and so the book is about 40 some. But look at this map. It's so gorgeous, both the details along the edges, but just the map itself, and it's so in tone for Mausritter, right? I mean, you can just see the various places that look so good. Marigold, the town of Marigold. You've got those gravestones down in Crowburg. You've got Mice Lanius. I don't know how to say that, but it's a teapot upside down. You've got Jax, the pumpkin, the jack-o'-lantern. Oh man, I just love this. Absolutely love this. Oatmeal is great, right? That reminds me of the Minish Cap. Zelda the Minish Cap, the barrel that's on its side in the ground. You go inside it. So this is Whiskerwind Hollow. Here's the locations of interest with the smaller maps that show you what's there. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it's a pretty small book, and it's a paid product, but I think it's really, really cool. Really, really pretty. Frondosa. There's lots of little locations with stuff going on there. And one of the things that's great about this is that things are indicated, but not detailed. That's my jam. I love when things are indicated and there's flavor given and maybe maps or art, and enough is presented to give you like, this is a cool place. But then the details are left up to you. You can connect things if you want. You can leave things off. You can add more in. I love that. That's my jam. Look at this art. So good. Ratatunnel. This is a great one, and a good example of what I was just saying. A sprawling network of underground tunnels carved out by industrious rodents, teeming with hidden passages and long-forgotten secrets. What's happening? A mysterious tunnel that has been uncovered within Ratatunnel, leading even deeper underground. Rumors say it connects to an ancient rat city, long forgotten. The tunnel is full of traps, old defenses, and hostile creatures. Who's here? Underground sentinels, ancient mechanical guardians of the forgotten city. Tunnel spiders, large spiders that have made their tunnels their home, shrewd and cunning. And a rat archivist, a ghostly rat from the ancient city who can offer knowledge about the tunnel's history and treasures. So cool. You get Dyer's Fall, Lagaturvo, Fortune Belfry Mud Home, Mary Villa, and another one of those great pieces of art. And I love that the piece of art captures kind of the details here, because you have sentient mushroom creatures. Some are friendly and others are hostile. You see that very clearly in the art, right? And you could easily describe that, take that as a bit of the description for your players. Really cool. Croak Creek, Rake's Tendril, Caranch, Jax, and Marigold itself with Mice Lanius. Now, there's only one typo that I saw the whole time, and it's right there. It's an old teapot serving. It should be a G to G there, but it's an F. Just a minor issue there, but the rest, I didn't notice anything else when I was reading through it. And Marigold itself, which is a great little town. I'm not going to go through the rest, just 20 pages of this, but I think you guys get the idea. The Care Ranch, by the way, it's a ranch where there's forests of carrot stalks. So good. The people who put this together really know what they're doing in terms of the tone of Mausritter. I love Mausritter. I know that it's not everybody's jam, but it's so good. I really love it. I was a big fan of books about mice when I was a kid. Of course, The Rescuers and the Roguefort Gang and The Secret of Nim, or I guess Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. All those books when I was a kid. Loved them. So, Whiskers in the Wind. Highly recommend you guys check this one out. Again, I'll put links below to where you can get it. And then finally, Goblinesque by Giovanni Nava. Now, this one was sent to me. Giovanni was great. He just reached out and was like, "Hey, do you want my book? Review it if you want. If you don't need to." So I was very grateful because it's great and it's hilarious. It's pixel art. Everybody's goblins. It's a great adventure. It comes with a soundtrack. It's just really cool. A daring adventure about goblins and mayhem. Now, I think it was originally written in Italian and translated over into English. And it's a good translation, if that's the case. I didn't notice really anything. There's a few maybe odd phrases, but they do work. They're just unusual choices for particular words and things like that. But I like that. You get an introduction and all the details there, and then the dungeon itself. And the idea here is that you're goblins. You've been captured, taken into this manor, put into prison, and you got to try to get out. And there's a curse breaking out. They're really interesting, sort of a meta game that you can find if you, the DM, the GM, is supposed to leave clues about how to manipulate the curse, and it depends on hand signals, which is kind of cool. So you could try to get the players to do it. But you're making your own characters, which are all goblins, based on this sort of system-neutral game that it's giving you here. You could obviously adapt this to your game of choice. It'd be pretty easy. And if you were to run like Shadowdark, it'd be pretty easy to just make everybody play goblins. It'd be pretty straightforward. The Goblin Skullcracker, the Goblin Scoundrel, the Goblin Shaman, the Goblin Wolf Rider, the Goblin Scrollkeeper with a mishap table for the scrolls, which is awesome, D100. And some of them are hilarious. Like, from now on, you speak in rhyme. Your arms are now tiny. You float a few inches above the ground. You are bright fluorescent orange. The area around you is covered in ice. You fall into a state of depression. You turn into a newborn. Just great D100 table for mishaps. You can use this in any game. You don't even need this for this one. The Goblin Alchemist and the Goblin Next Door, who's just nothing. There are goblins who can read magic, goblins devoted to combat, specialized in alchemy or scouting, and then there are goblins who are simply goblins. Most people say true heroism hides in the most unexpected places. Well, imagining it hiding in a goblin takes a great deal of imagination. That's the sort of writing this book has. I think it's great, really funny. That's excellent writing. What happened? What will happen? And the manor itself. Time is short, and the curse looms. Here's the hand of Patar, which is or the hand of Tar, probably say Tar with a slight P there. And again, the different hand gestures make it do things, and some of them are very powerful, like revives the dead, or strikes a fierce lightning bolt at any target the hand points to, 3d6 damage. Shoots out almost unbreakable spider webs with the Spider-Man hand gesture. That's great, right? And the hand holds great power that can be harnessed in various ways by folding its fingers in specific positions. The narrator may hide clues about this in the books and documents scattered throughout the manor. So it's up to you if you want to give them these abilities. But you could also, I would try to tie it into the players actually doing the hand gestures. That would be great, and that's how they have to trigger it. Here's the curse and what happens. It kind of triggers over time. At 3, it's just annihilation. The game's just over, which is pretty brutal. I don't know if I would do that, where it's just like, oh, that's the end, guys, because it theoretically could end very quickly. You could end it right away, because it's a 1 in 6 chance of activation, in which case you move to phase 2, and then each turn you roll 3d6, and if you happen to roll triple sixes, the game moves to phase 3, and that's annihilation. That's game over. So I don't know if I would do that necessarily. I might have that take a while, or something like that. But otherwise, I think it's a great idea in the background to have this thing triggering. And here are the heroes, right? To every hero, their monster. To every monster, their hero. So there's a typical adventuring party running around here as well. There's a fighter, a thief, a cleric, and a wizard. And they're, as you would imagine, as annoying as it could possibly be to a bunch of goblins. Some random events, you escape, and then the dungeon itself. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing again. The whole book is about 39 pages in PDF, but in the spread form. So it's about 70 pages, 70 plus pages in the actual document. I love the maps. They're, again, pixel art. They're like video games, and you have a very clear map legend here. And the way that the dungeon is laid out is awesome. You have a very brief description here. So you have the map where the particular locations are named are pointed out very clearly. So loot, useful items, fireplace, hostile creatures, etc. They're all laid out super well. And then you have a description of the room with a hyperlinked title, which is awesome, along with these, the legends, the keys there next to it. And then, as you go forward, you get big descriptions of each room. And again, so if I go here and I click on interrogation chamber, boom, I go to the interrogation chamber. So that's an awesome element of this book. It's all laid out super well. I really like this. So what happens in the room, the writing there, what's going on with some highlighted things to help you parse it and read it and understand it, and then what happens if the room is cursed as the curse expands. So that reminds me of something like The Waking of Willoughby Hall, where there's a description of the room, and then if the house is awake, more stuff is happening. I think that's where they probably got their inspiration, I would imagine. Anyway, this is fantastic. You can see the art is awesome. Again, the writing is funny. You're dealing with meat golems and guards and hounds and alchemy labs and the beast. That always reminds me of what we do in the shadows, the beast. The Leaf Knight, Roderick's Tomb, the Crypt, and the Vault. I love it. I really, really like Goblinesque. You guys should really check this one out. I'm just going to go through that up to that point. I don't want to go too long in this video. But thanks to Giovanni and to everybody who put this game together. It is really great. Really, really funny. So again, I'll put links below where you can get this. This one you have to pay for, but it's definitely worth it. This is one of the better paid products I've seen in a long time. It's so in tone, super flavorful, really great. So this video, we've gone through 6 adventures: Goblinesque, Whiskers in the Wind, A Walk in the Harwood, The Diet of Worms, Too Greedily, Too Deep, and The Awful Amber Doom. All great adventures or settings, hex crawls. They're all different, again, for different systems, but I really like them all. I hope you guys do too. I recommend you check them all out. Hope this has been an interesting video, guys, and I'll see you all in another one.